All right, good evening, welcome to Grand Blanc Township Planning Commission meeting for Thursday, July 14th. Call the meeting to order, and we have in presence, we have Mr. Bush, Mrs. Coulter, Mr. Yancho, Mr. Vandersky, and myself, Mr. Anderson. All of us absent. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So let's start by approving tonight's agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a correction to the agenda, old business number 6. We'd like to table that, since we have we do have a quorum tonight, but we have 4 members absent plus our planning consultant, so we could table that till next month, please.
I would agree with that. Motion support.
Support. I'll make that motion. Support needed.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, passes. Good. So that's tabled. Okay. And the previous meeting's minutes from June 2nd. You had a chance to review those.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have reviewed the minutes and found everything to be in order, so unless one of the commissioners has a comment, I make a motion that we approve the minutes as presented.
As presented. Okay.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Public comments this evening. That's fine. Yeah, just state your name and address.
Yeah,
Right,
Street Cloud, we don't have any.
Yeah, you can face it.
Yeah.
I know my problem.
I'm tired today. I had to go into work, you know?
Okay.
It's a big
Long
chore
work.
now after you've been working from home, you know? Lelaine Kilborn, 3103 West Thompson Road, Fenton, Michigan, but I'm a Grand Blanc resident. At this time, since you haven't discussed it under old business, and I don't really remember a lot you had discussed last month, so I don't have a lot of comments. The only thing I do remember that I think I had an issue with was the building height. You were changing, or maybe I was thinking of the setbacks.
Are you thinking of the I-1 height requirements? Or are you talking about setback requirements?
I think, you know what, I think I was talking about the setback requirements of the frontage of the houses, or the,
Oh, were you talking about the offset for the multifamily?
yeah, maybe
Okay,
that's what it was.
so that was
Okay.
supposed to be part of our discussion today, and that's part of the table one for next month.
Okay, great, this is all for me,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. No other public comment? Move on. Do we have any correspondence?
No.
Okay. Let's move on to item number 7, new business. Public hearing for tax amendments, section 3.16.d, building height, 5.15.7, parking space dimensions from our June 2nd meeting. Move out with that?
Yes, so in your packet, you've got the Grand Blanc Township amendment for the Code of Ordinances, under number 1, section 3.1.16.d, light industrial district building mean height. For the maximum as it states today is 40 feet. We're requesting that it gets changed to 50 feet due to the fact that we've got a lot of new businesses coming into town, especially over on Mr. Yancho's old property, the Grand Blanc Industrial Park over there. A lot of the new businesses that we're going to be seeing site plans for, we've already been told that they're going to be taller than the 40 feet. So in lieu of that, we're requesting it to be changed to 50, and that should suffice. Section number 2, the 5.15.6.d off-street parking design standards for the 75 degree to 90 degree. We're asking the parking space width be changed from 9 to 10 feet and the length from 18 to 20 feet. And the reason for that is due to the larger SUVs and things that are being produced nowadays. We feel that the spaces are not adequate. we wanna change more down the road, we can do that. I know Mr. Yancho had mentioned to me that maybe we wanna take a look at some of the other, the parking pattern degrees and maybe change some of those in the future. We can look at those, I will mention that to Jill, our planning consultant, and make sure that, see what she thinks, if she's got any other municipalities that have different requirements. So we'll take care of that at the next meeting. I'll see if she can present something next meeting for that. So those are the only two things that we're looking at today.
Okay. Okay, for this item, new business for the zoning amendments presented, any public comment for that? No? Okay, seeing none, we'll bring it back to the table. Discussion, questions?
I think those are great improvements.
Kind of.
These are recommended to the board.
This was per the June 2nd meeting.
Yeah,
This was
it's
recommended
also
from the
kind of
comments
talked about.
that, from Matt Wojciechowski that works with Jill at Giffords Webster. He has provided notes to us, and this is what the board from the June 2nd meeting had recommended that we bring to the table today.
I don't know whether it's so.
It's a recommendation to them for approval.
Oh, yes, so the recommendation to the township board, yes, sorry. Mr. Bush.
Thank you.
I guess I do wanna have a question, just so that we can have a discussion today.
All right. don't wanna
Why do we
go-
limit in light industrial, why do we limit the building height to even 50 feet?
I think it's because it's not the I2, the heavy industrial. Because we wanna keep some design standards to, we wanna have a cap, if you will. We don't want, cause a lot of these, if you look even over by you, you've got Ruby Street to the east and you've got residential. We don't want the residential looking at skyscraper industrial buildings and things like that. It's almost like our neighborhood commercial zoning as opposed to our general commercial setting. So it's like the buffer between residential and industrial is the light industrial, just like neighborhood commercial is the buffer between heavy commercial and residential.
But using that same property as an example, at the freeway frontage,
Yep.
you know, that would be a place where maybe it'd be nice to have some taller buildings. No, it's not gonna interfere with residential.
True. There's one parcel that I know of that, maybe two that have 75 frontage, so again, if that's something that we wanna take a look at, because now also too, if you go on the south side of Baldwin Road, you've got Tech Village. Tech Village has some other, but it's a PUD, so it's got other things built into it. So outside of those two properties, or those two areas, there's really not much more 75 frontage that's open, so I mean, it's a valid point. If we want to discuss it, I can bring that to Jill as well, and we can take a look at that. If it's got, you know, within so many feet of I-75, they're allowed to go higher if they want, or another thing too is they could be allowed to have, something that's gonna come before you guys soon that I'm working with Jill is, more, higher, bigger signage.
Oh.
Taller and or width for 75 frontage, if they're within so many feet of 75.
I'm okay with that, yeah, I'd rather keep the
Keep the
building
buildings.
height that we got, this one, they can always apply for a variance.
Everything's
correct?
always up for variance, anything in the book is up for variance, but,
That would
and
kind of.
those could be isolated areas where just, we would give variances for just those two and not open it up to anybody that's got
Right,
interstate frontage,
exactly,
so.
so for example, maybe 475 and stuff there where there's residential relatively close to it, so.
Correct.
Okay, yeah, I'm okay with that.
Just a simple comment, I mean, I'm basically in favor of keeping things simple, and 50 feet seems fine to me. I don't see any reason to try to put qualifications or conditions or only in these areas, but just, you know, keep it simple.
Mr. Bush?
I'll make a comment too, and maybe piggyback on what Mr. Yancho was saying. Why do we limit it even to 50? And I guess the only reason I'm making a comment is what types of businesses are we not welcoming by keeping something, say, 40, 50 feet? What business is gonna say, I can't go to Grand Lake Township because I'm just not gonna deal with it? So are we discouraging, I mean, we're not gonna get a Ford plant or a General Motors plant, but is there something that we're excluding? And I tend to agree with Ms. Coulter, 50 feet seems adequate and simple.
just occurs to me that, taller buildings, if they wanted to have more floors, for instance, they're using a smaller footprint.
And that's why I made it clear with Jimmy, they could always apply for a variance. I don't think it would be a right idea to come in with no rules or no parameters whatsoever. But I like the idea of 50 feet, and it's kind of what I see a lot of our neighboring communities using as well. You don't see a 6-story building going up in Burton or in Holly, but if they wanted to bring it to us, absolutely could make a justified case. And
I was actually at a Ford plant yesterday doing measurements, doing some retrofit, and the bottom of the trusses for the building were like 23 feet, and then the trusses were like 8. So you're looking at like a 30-foot building. There was a Ford plant that has multi-levels.
Yeah.
Their screen guard or their second levels for all their conveyors are 10 feet. So they can have, there's four floors in 30 feet, essentially.
So
So they could.
typically, I think in architecture, 10 foot per floor is kind of.
Right. It's a rule of thumb.
We could go with a 4 or 5 story building with this particular approval pending design. I think it's adequate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. No further discussion? Okay. Bring it back to a vote, and this is just a vote to present it to the township
Recommendation.
board. Yeah, recommendation.
Yep.
So, zoning case number 674, section 316D, building height, and 5.157, parking space dimensions. Anybody want to make a motion to approve that to be forwarded to the board?
I'll make that motion
Okay.
to send that to the board for
Mr.
approval.
Yancho,
Support.
support from Mr. Bush. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No opposed. Okay. Easy enough. Do we have any, well, we'll start with, do you have anything you need to report?
No committee reports. We will have a, meeting, I believe it's August 4th is the next regularly scheduled meeting, and we will have a SPR, site plan review committee meeting that, night as well,
Okay.
probably at 6 p.m. We have the GM plant Outdoor Highway, is doing a electric vehicle battery storage building, that they're addition that they're adding onto the existing building. And then we have a rezoning case for Belsey and Hill.
Okay. Okay.
No, I'm sorry, I take that back. That is the Belsey,
Perry.
no, Belsey and Perry, thank you. Where the Speedway is.
The speedway is, okay.
Yeah, behind the
That's it,
speedway.
there's that L-shaped property behind it.
Oh boy, yeah, 25 acres. What are they gonna do?
They're petitioning to go to neighborhood commercial for the whole thing. Half of it's split between residential and neighborhood commercial right now.
Safaro's still the owner,
I believe so, yes.
or his wife.
I don't know.
That doesn't matter at this point in time.
Yeah.
All right. Ms. Hugo's not here to share with the township board, so anybody else? Yes,
Site plan.
site plan review.
We just had a site plan review prior to this meeting for where Pewter's lawn supply used to be.
Okay.
For, the applicant is building, wants an addition, they're a vehicle supply wash company. So, and that was approved.
960 square feet of addition on the front of the building.
Okay.
That's all.
We got any further to mention that? We'll go with adjournment.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting at 7:15 p.m.
Support?
Support.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Can I ask you a question?